Hello, welcome to Strange News, where I talk about pop culture, horror, paranormal, and strange stuff. So if you like that stuff, you come to the right place. And I'm going to be trying to post these daily for those of you that have been keeping up with the Menendez brothers and are curious about the current status of the court case. It turns out that the Los Angeles DA opposes the Menendez brothers' bid for a new trial. Now, obviously, people are going to have strong opinions on the matter, but I kind of want to give you guys a quick recap of the situation for those of you that are not aware of the Mendes brothers, and then we're going to get into why they are trying to block the trial. So, in 1989, Lyle and Eric Mendes shot and killed their wealthy parents, Jose and Kitty Mendes, in their Beverly Hills mansion. And the reason for this is because they claim that they dealt with years of sexual and physical abuse, which led them to act in self defense. But the jury didn't buy it, and convicted them in first degree murder in 1996 and sentenced to life without parole. They have exhausted appeals in 2005 when the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal upheld their convictions. So, yeah, that's like a quick simplified thing. However, another thing to note is that Monsters the Ryan Murphy Monsters series, which I believe each season is about a different case or trial, serial killer, crime, whatever. Now, the second season is about Lyle and Eric Mendes, which came out last year, and it got so much press attention that people were calling George Gascon, which I believe was the former Los Angeles district attorney. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If I misstep, please let me know. But basically, George was concluding that the brothers had paid their debt to society and would want to reduce their sentence. So it seems for a little bit there that, they're going to get their way. They were going to get some light at the end of the tunnel. However, dun dun dun, Hodgman is currently speaking out about this case. He says that this is all lies, deceit, and fabricating stories, and believes in nothing that the Mendes brothers says. He says that there's a long history of shifting stories and even pressuring friends to lie. And that's Nathan, in case you guys are wondering who this person is. Which brings me to this other image. So this image here is a letter in 1998. It's a letter between Eric Mendes and a former Menudo band member, Roy Roselio or Rosello. Let me know how to pronounce that. But this letter here was supposed to prove that they suffered abuse. However, Nathan Hodgman claims that of lies, and that the brothers have told over the last several decades. He rejects this evidence, arguing that this letter was never used in their original trials, and that the Rosalio abuse was unknown to them at the time of the murders, so it doesn't support their self-defense claim. Now, the other thing to note about Nathan is that he had removed two prosecutors from the case, and now they are suing the county, which they feel like is unlawfully being transferred for supporting the Mendes brothers. So it's getting pretty murky waters here, right? A little bit murky, a little bit tea, a little bit of shade going on here. So now the judge that is overlooking this case is going to review the sentencing request on March 20th to the 21st. So I'm sure we're going to hear another surge of the situation before they make their final decision. But either way, let me know what you think should happen. Now, the next story I have over here is also getting so much attention. And for some of you, you may remember this. Some of you who don't know, I'm going to go over the situation. But there was a documentary over on Netflix, and it is number one right now in the true crime docu-series called American Murder, Gabby Petito. And there's new details about her tragic case, but, things that apparently weren't covered when the situation had happened. So, to recap, Gabby Petito in 2021 was a 22-year-old travel influencer who set out to live in her van life and be part of that niche and community with her fiance, Brian. And unfortunately, by September, she was reported missing, and her body was later found in Grand Teton National Park. The cause of her death was blunt force trauma and strangulation. Brian Laundrie fled and was later found dead by suicide and left a note admitting to killing Gabby. However, it doesn't end there. So this is the cover of the documentary, and there are some key takeaways. So apparently, the docuseries features an AI-generated voice reading Gabby's journal entries. Now, let's pause here for a second because I know there are people who are not AI fans, people who have strong opinions on AI. And look, I'm one of them, you know. I There's so many things coming out in AI. We're still learning more and more about whether it's good, whether it's bad. Um Now, this is where it does get into some very murky waters. Using AI voiceover for people who are no longer with us, I feel like can be a little controversial because, hey, you know, some people who are mourning the loss of a loved one, families want respect. They want to preserve the memory of their loved ones. And that means not generating AI, not having AI generate the voice of somebody, especially when in this case they're using that to read Gabby's journal entries. And this is where I stand. I think that if the family wasn't considered and the family didn't give consent to this, then they should have never ever done this in the first place. That's what I think. Um I mean, I haven't watched the docuseries if I'm being completely honest with you guys. It is on my list of things to watch, but that's where I stand with it. Again, if you have any hot takes on it or any questions or any thoughts, I'm curious to hear you guys out on this because this is a big topic. So, now, aside from the AI voice stuff, Gabby's family sued Brian Laundrie's parents for withholding key information that could have helped locate Gabby sooner. Now, I remember when the news and TikTok was covering the story, I do recall this part. However, I believe the docuseries goes into further detail with like the settlement and the lawsuits. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what the article was saying. So basically, the Laundrie settled for $3 million in March of 2024, so close to a year ago. Now, Brian's family also denied any wrongdoing, and their attorney Steve Bertolino criticized the documentary. And so here are the things that he had to say. He said that the documentary was what was expected. One perspective depicted as the truth. We all know Brian took Gabby's life and Brian took his own. Let the parents of both Gabby and Brian mourn in peace. The documentary also contained many inaccuracies, incorrect justifications of timelines, misstatements, and omissions of the fact, perhaps deliberate to capture their truth, perhaps due to simple error. The attorney continued, not specifying what was wrong in the documentary, but I would be very curious to learn what he is pointing out. Now, I think if I look at it and I watch it, we could probably take a wild guess on what the situation is. Um, but yeah, for the sake, I think for peace and grievance, he probably is going to be withholding that information, and that's okay. So the next story is a little bit more lighthearted for the horror movie people. There are going to be or attempting, well, I don't know. From what I gathered, they are thinking of revitalizing the 1985 horror classic. And I read about this. It's campy, it's funny. I feel like I would watch this if it gets remade. So if you don't know about this, it's a Dario Argento. I want to say Argento, but it's not like Argento. I don't know. I'm so sorry, guys, if I mispronounced that. But it is a horror cult classic starring Jennifer Connelly, which is so wild to me because I'm like, oh my god, holy memory unlock. She used to get confused for Demi Moore, and I can see that when I see this. I'm like, oh my god. In this 1985 film, she is a teen psychic who connects to insects at a Swiss boarding school. When a mysterious killer emerges, she teams up to investigate. Now, I have to show you guys the trailer. Those eyes. Some hallway, some guy. Oh, no, wait. I think that's monkey crawling up the attic or the window. Huh? Ma'am? This is Wendy's. Just
The wind,
why did I
yes.
say that?
The phone. Very particular wind. Typical of this part of the country. It comes from the Alps.
The monkey's right there.
The blasts of...
All right. So for the sake of my video being taken down, I'm not gonna do the whole trailer, but you get my drift. You get my drift. Anyway, now they're gonna remake this into like a TV series, but Nothing is set in stone as far as I understood from this article, but I could be very wrong. Hopefully they do. Now, the last story I have for you guys is more on the paranormal side. Well, sort of. Okay. So, if you know of Somerville, South Carolina, you know about the urban legends. At least I hope you would know. And one of them is this mysterious ghost lights that have been spotted near an old railway track in Somerville. Apparently, the local legend is that the lights belong to a ghost of a woman who is searching for her husband who died in a train accident. So there have been reports of slamming doors, footsteps, and disturbed animals that add to this paranormal mystery. But now there's an update. So Susan Hugh from the US Geological Survey, so the acronym is USGS, has a new theory, and it might not have anything to do with ghosts. But if you're a strong believer or you have another thought, you're going to stay tuned for this one. So she believes that the ghost lanterns could be a rare phenomenon called earthquake lights, which appear before, during, or after seismic activity. And these lights have been reported worldwide, and they sometimes appear as balls of lights, streamers, or glowing orbs. So you can kind of see in that little image there, like these beautiful lights that have been captured. Now, this is Susan. She even says that even smaller, unnoticeable earthquakes could be triggering the lights. So, the other thing, too, is that it could also be reporting like shaking cars, slamming doors, and spooked animals, which I'd be curious to see how like an earthquake could cause slamming doors. Well, I mean, but it also depends on like how people saw the doors being slammed, because I could see like the earthquake like shaking a loose door and it moving back and forth, but like slamming it shut once and that's it. I'd be kind of curious. But I, not that I'm not believing her, of course, I feel like this is a pretty good theory. But speaking of her thoughts and theories, it's not fully unproven. It's not unproven, but it could be tested by measuring gas emissions from the ground where the lights appear. So that's one way. I do like some theories. I do like some debunking, even though I do believe in ghosts and the paranormal. But I also think two things can be true at the same time. I don't know. I don't know. You let me know what you think, right? So, yeah, that's all I have for you guys in terms of the spooky paranormal stuff. But before we wrap up, I wanted to quickly add in a final note is if you guys have any recommendations, feel free to let me know. I'm trying to make this more into like strange, paranormal, horror, things of that nature. I know that the internet, I know that the news is heavily covered in like pop culture, politics, those type of things that we see everywhere, and I do think that is important, but I do want to share some of the strange stuff that I see that doesn't get covered in the same light. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to end it off here. Remember, guys, stay strange.